on News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
O'Connor and Company.
6:37, and we are super jammed this morning, so let's get right to it. Coming up at 7:05, Gabriella Hoffman on how the Bureau of Land Management is going woke. 7:15, President of Fire for Free Speech about Georgetown University's lack thereof. 7:45, Julie Donaldson on opening day for the Commanders. And then Patrice Onwuka at 8:05, we'll talk to the Virginia Attorney General, Jason Miyares. Good morning,
Excellent.
Patrice.
Good morning.
Yes, totally excellent. And joining us right now, we continue our focus on all the elections this November in the Commonwealth of Virginia. We're trying to focus on as many of the highest profile local races as we can, from school board to county supervisor. And that brings us Paul Beran. He is a candidate for the Franconia district. And Paul, is that how you pronounce your last name? I apologize. I just want to get it right.
Just think of Beran Good News.
Beran. Oh, Beran. All right.
Yes,
all right.
Sir.
Beran. I just don't want people to think that it's spelled, like an old medieval Baron. It's Beran, and you want to go
right.
Beran goodnews.com, barongoodnews.com. And I do like that. I perused your website, and you are very much about the good news. And let's face it, for a lot of Fairfax residents, they're not seeing a lot of good news. So tell me, what is the good news?
Well, I know that in order for me to attract voters from both sides of the aisle, I have to bring a positive statement. There's so much bad news out there. It's about time, and they're looking for good news. And I'm trying to introduce some to the platform. And of course, that comes in different forms. Number one is of course, if there's anything we can do to reduce the crime that's so prevalent in our district, that's an important thing. And first, front and center. And secondly, of course, is what we can do to lower taxes. Those two are the biggest reasons why people are moving out.
So I guess Patrice, Paul's saying the good news is coming after Election Day, if they make a choice.
Exactly. Well, I'm perusing some of the bad news, those issues that you mentioned. You talked about law and order, and you talked about the tax base. But, dig in a little bit more on on education and also affordable housing. I mean, I know it's expensive to live in this area. So what are your thoughts on how we can improve the education system and help people afford to stay in the area?
Well, you're absolutely right. People pick a district to move into based on school performance. So they want their students to be among the best. And that's why for many, many years, decades, this area has attracted people because of our wonderful school system. But where the heck did it go? Our scores are declining so fast. The rest of Virginia has been increasing 16%. Meanwhile, we've decreased 27%,
wow.
In our scores. And so something's not working. Something's changed. And when you look at the curriculum and you look at the direction that our school district has gone and our board has gone and taken our kids, you see that they've gotten away from reading, writing, and arithmetic. So my whole plan will be to really push them back to where the basics belong, and that's teaching our kids how to function as citizens of this country. And I think that's important. And then when that happens and they get away from the woke agenda, and the gender dysphoria, when they get away from those subjects, which, frankly, I believe belongs more in the purview of the parents than in the school district.
That's revolutionary.
But when it happens, when that happens, the school scores will increase. It just has to. It'll go back.
Paul Beran is a candidate for supervisor in the Franconia district for Fairfax County.
Right.
And Paul, if we could just take a minute here to give us the brief bio, how you got here from there to ask for people's votes.
Well, it's unbelievable. God is awesome. He really put me in this place in time to run. I never had an ambition, to become a candidate or to win any candidacy, although I have helped many over the 50 years of my marketing and business experience. I actually own an ad agency. But I never wanted to run myself. And when the GOP asked me to run, I respectfully declined. I just thought, let somebody else step up to the plate. But that's not the way things worked out. My wife works in Capitol Hill for the U.S. House of Representatives. That's what brought us into the area. And I'm happy to be here and to apply my experience really to the benefit of everyone else.
Well, and just a little bit about your personal background. I mean, it feeds into one of the issue areas. You talk about diversity, but not the agenda-driven diversity of check the boxes and quota systems, but actually just the natural diversity of people respecting and loving each other regardless of race. But that's your family.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. My wife is from China, and I have a multiracial family, if you will. And I love the fact that her friends have embraced me as these are Chinese immigrants. They've embraced me as one of them, and I've heard all the stories about how they experienced socialism and which became communism in China, and they escaped it by moving here, and now they see it coming here, and they think, oh no, where else can we go if not here? And so I really have to step up to help. That's my role.
Yeah. Well, Paul Beran, listen, the Democratic Party has quite a lockhold on the Fairfax County politics, but here's what happens. There's a few times in political circumstances where a revolutionary election comes along, and I feel like the climate is there right now for it. Part of it is the one party gets so complacent that they just think, oh, yeah, this is a no-brainer. We're always going to win. We always win. And so their base is not very motivated to go out and keep just checking a box for a no-brainer election. Meanwhile, opposition suddenly is not just partisan. There's normative independents as well as even people in the other party who are just so sick and tired and fed up where things are going because they can see the decline. That's exactly what's happening in Fairfax. So tell me about how you're rallying that support, how you're going to thread that needle, knock on enough doors, and get enough people who are just fed up that they will shock the world this November.
Well, I speak the language. I used to be a Democrat. In fact, in Pittsburgh, I was the spokesperson for the Democrat Party for 10 years, up to 1983.
Wow.
And I really thought that I was going to remain a Democrat for my whole life. But then I heard back in 1983 what some of their plans were on how to move this country into socialism. And I looked at what they were planning to do, and I said, you know what, this is not me. I'm out of here. And, of course, I just left my job. I didn't leave my party affiliation. I remained a Democrat until 2012, when I had I realized that there was no way I can change that party, so I switched. And 3 months later, I was invited to join the Obama White House Business Council, which I did, and it was an honor. They didn't like me much because I really, fought them with all of their plans and strategies, but it was still an honor. And also, Cardinal Wuerl at the time, he had invited me back when he was bishop to join his council, his committee to address the sex abuse by priests upon children, and that was a heart-wrenching task for sure. But I learned a lot. I worked with victims, and I understand. How even a little bit of influence sexually, premature influence when you're kids can affect you for life. And so that's really what motivates me to help get our school district back in line. As a supervisor, I'm supposed to oversee those things. And so I will definitely exude my pressures upon them to get back to the basics of reading, writing, and arithmetic. I think that's just so important.
Like I said, that's the climate, and I love it. You always hear this, this Republican Party, it's not your father's Republican Party. Well, you learned over the course of the last 20 years that Democratic Party is not your grandfather's Democratic Party either.
That's right.
It goes both ways. And I was wondering, thank you for the backstory, because I looked at your endorsements before we had you on. It's not often you see a politician endorsed by the retired Archbishop of Washington, D.C., Cardinal Wuerl, but there he is endorsing you. So we're keeping an eye on your campaign. BeranGoodNews.com. It's spelled Beran. Thanks, Paul. Great meeting you.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, Paul.